Okay, I know I'm a little late, but I was sick, so couldn't really do much about that. I wanted this to come out on Monday, but now it's coming out on Saturday, almost a week later. I do apologize for that, but with that said, now I can give you a preview because I'm currently editing this video. So, what is it about? Well, I'm going to tell you my initial thoughts on Murder Drones Episode 8. They're not great. I didn't like the episode originally, but now I love it because I noticed some little details here and there. I made a theory, and it turns out everyone made the same theory because it's based on a very obvious scene. You know, the one scene where Uzi glitches and you see that she's a hologram. Yay! That being said, as my policy goes, I don't like making the same theory video as someone else unless I'm doing something different. In this case, I found a ton of little details and hints that further prove the theory that Cyn was just, tricking the characters the whole time and just wanted to become Uzi after, her whole Tessa charade failed. I explain it better throughout the video, but this is a preview. It's not meant to explain it well, it's to give you an idea of what we're doing. Alright. So, time for the second start of the video, or better yet, known as the original. Yeah, just enjoy it. Or leave. I don't care. This is for your entertainment, not mine. When I watched the premiere of episode 8, I was somewhat disappointed. There were plenty of moments that didn't bother me. The characters had a lot of missed opportunities, but it was just that, opportunity. Something extra to make the show better, but not necessarily worse. A good example would be a lot of people wanted V to stay dead and for Jay to switch sides. But the reveal did the opposite. I don't think that ruins episode 8 though. I would like more context on how V befriends the Sentinel, but at least he's wearing Bo's hat. That's a nice callback. Thad, Lizzie, Khan, and the Sentinel, despite their arcs, aren't the focus of attention, but comic relief. V and Jay's fight gives us lore, but they're still not the focus of the show, which is why I'm fine with the missed opportunity with their characters. What ruined the episode for me was primarily Uzi and Cyn. N was really good, but he didn't do much in the first place. Uzi, on the other hand, gained an inexplicable amount of power, and suddenly could resist Cyn. I'm not a big fan of if you believe in yourself, suddenly you have the power to do anything. In the quite literal sense, figuratively, it's okay. Uzi was also kind of cringe, like her freakout in episode 3. I honestly thought we got away from these very silly moments. The show is silly in itself, but this is just a little too much, honestly, in my opinion. Then there is Cyn, who for no reason makes herself an easy target this episode, and waits for someone to save her victims from an obvious fake-out death. If Cyn genuinely wanted everyone dead, then several characters wouldn't even be in this episode, they'd already be gone. Take Uzi for example. If Cyn really intended to kill Uzi, she would have done it in episode 7, when she dragged her into the pit. This episode is just overly convenient, and its quick pacing hurts any tension buildup, as another convenient scene comes along to kill the tension. So when I watched the premiere of episode 8, I was somewhat disappointed, but that's past tense. I've come to really like this episode after looking it over and finding a lot of hidden details. But let's start off with what I think happened. So in short, when Cyn and or the Solver realized that she couldn't be loved as Tessa by N, she decided to be loved as Uzi instead, given that N actually confessed to Uzi. Going by this logic, it makes sense that Cyn would want to intentionally lose to Uzi by forcing assimilation, while not raising any suspicion on who was in control, which is why she doesn't kill Uzi at the end of episode 7. Around the 7-minute mark of episode 8, we can see Uzi launch a black hole through the planet, something she shouldn't have the ability to do yet. But before she launches the black hole, her Solver symbol is yellow, indicating the Solver's interference like in the scenes from episode 7. Further along in the episode, we actually see Cyn say,
Easier to assimilate.
Then explain anyway.
Indicating her intention to assimilation, but every time she gets the opportunity to eat a core, she deliberately waits. Almost every time she teleports away, but why not bring their core or entire body with her? Cyn doesn't really wait around to kill someone unless she's actively trying to trick them or someone else. Not to mention, a percentage of her scenes are actually in slow-mo, so these kill scenes aren't actually as slow as we originally believe. Yet, in episode 8, we can actually see that several of these kill scenes, while slow, are still in real time. Then, there is this specific scene. We see Cyn opening her mouth to eat N, while her eyes close halfway. While it is true the lower eyelids can close slightly when smiling, it wouldn't apply when opening one's mouth. Instead, the eyelids open as much as possible. This means Cyn is closing her eyes deliberately. You can actually go try this in a mirror, have fun. Closing one's eyes halfway has a lot of implications. Ignoring the obviously wrong ones, such as exhaustion, it could be naturally devious or sadistic behavior. But we don't see Cyn doing this with Uzi earlier. Rather, her eyes are as open as possible. She only does it for N, not to mention how drawn out this scene is. Anytime it takes Cyn this long to kill someone, it's always in slow-mo, with this scene being the only exception. So it seems her eyes closing halfway are meant to represent sadness. This lines up with her character given we know how she feels about N.
Hello, Uzi.
Hi, N.
Of course, we do get that one devious look in this scene when she's watching Uzi and deliberately waiting. So as for what the eyes can mean at some points, it's anybody's guess. If we go even further in the episode, we can see Cyn trying to control Uzi and failing, but once again, this is too easy and is likely Cyn faking it. Then there is the extensive fight scene. Other than a few moments when Cyn is genuinely surprised, her natural smile widens every time Uzi, N, and V effectively counter her. Not only that, but when Cyn is given the perfect opportunity to deal the killing blow, she always pauses, giving someone time to stop her. I'm in the middle of editing, so I thought I would elaborate more on this. Basically, every time Cyn waits around, it's usually to trick her prey. The first time we see this, it's to trick her prey into a kill zone. We later see her try to do this again by luring N and Uzi with Thad, but not actually killing Thad, just, dangling him like, oh, here he is, get a little closer so that I can encompass you with solver limbs. Even when we go to episode 5, she waits so that she can get everyone in one place and then starts slaughtering en masse. In episode 7, even when she kills Doll with that really long kill scene, she's removing the spacesuit so that N doesn't suspect anything when she's setting Uzi up. Because if she got oil on the spacesuit, N probably would have been like, what is that? What's going on there? Even the scene where Uzi pulls Cyn's core out seems deliberate. Cyn slows down her teleportation so that Uzi can see her coming. We see that this scene is in real time based on Uzi's head movements, or at the very least, isn't as slow as you'd initially believe. Then there's Cyn's core, which doesn't move at all and just rests in Uzi's hand until she burns it alive. Anyway, when we make it to one of the most horrifying scenes in the show, we see Uzi can't break Cyn's grip, but Cyn just lets go after Uzi closes her hand and eats her core. This leads us to the scene where Uzi gets some iconic aspects of Cyn's design before pulling herself together in a creepy way, and shortly after we see the two personalities merge, indicated by the color of Uzi's eyes. It's at this moment that I'd like to remind you that Cyn becoming someone else is very in character for her, especially if it gets her what she wants. The closing scenes point out that Uzi and Cyn are happy, but that the Solver's goals remain incomplete. The happiness of both Uzi and Cyn is indicated by them literally saying it while their personalities are merged. while the solver's desires leak out through Uzi's art.
And yep, that's how I learned nightmares are real, and we probably should have stayed behind the old doors. And that maybe I don't actually hate it here as much. That's my girlfriend!
Hey there, I'm in the midst of editing. When Uzi says the line, "I'm a damaged OC," her eyes become mostly purple, indicating it's mostly her at this point. But when she says she's happy here, her eyes stay consistently purple and yellow, meaning both of them actually mean it, so both Cyn and Uzi are genuinely happy. As for the solver, don't really know. But it will scheme, so we'll see. Finishing off, we have the cliffhanger, which indicates that the personalities can also separate when Cyn goes into Uzi's tail, as Uzi's eyes return to just purple in this scene. This indicates who is in control of what. This is important as just a few moments ago, for a few frames, Uzi is revealed to be a projection of an eldritch, and all the eyes are yellow, implying that Cyn stole his body and that Cyn has full control. This makes Uzi no more than a tool to Cyn to get what she wants from N, which is his love. Which is how I reached the conclusion that this was all staged. I have alternative theories on this, such as the dream theory, but that will have to wait for another video. I also have ideas on how the story can continue, but I've been under the weather and my throat is currently killing me, so that will have to wait for another video as well. Before I go though, I have to ask, how many people noticed that Doll's HUD showed up in Uzi's HUD? Meaning that Doll is alive inside Uzi the same way Uzi's now alive inside of Cyn. Isn't that cool? Isn't it cool how characters that should have stayed dead come back? Well, I mean, I guess they are dead in a way. They're kind of in limbo, which means they can't really do anything. They just kind of exist to be used as tools. So I guess there's that, but yeah, Doll is alive! That's gonna do it for this video. I'll see you all next time.